I tell clients that when you're in court, it's like downhill skiing. You've got to be loose in the knees and you have to be able to take the moguls, right? Because anything could happen and often does.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denisa Tova. And, this is a show where we dive deep into the personal and professional lives of people from all sorts of walks of life. We have legal experts, we have entrepreneurs, we have celebrities, just trailblazers. Now, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dolores Gebhardt. She's a distinguished family law attorney. She's a partner at Goldschmidt and Genovese in White Plains, New York. She's also past president of the Westchester County Bar Association, so she knows how to get stuff done. And it's interesting. She's known for her comprehensive knowledge in counsel fees. So we'll unpack that and see what that is. But there's so many layers to her, and I cannot wait to get to know her better and discover the woman behind the accolades. Dolores, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Denise. It's really an honor.
Likewise, we had a little bit of a warm up before we started, and this is actually great. We talked about some of the unexpected situations, when you're in the middle of a Zoom or a conference call virtually, whether it's with a court or client. And, you are obviously in the New York City, or you're in the city, and on the upper floor. And we talked about having a guy going up and down cleaning the windows. Actually, that was one of my experience interviewing another guest. But, you mentioned the unexpected can happen, and you just kind of have to take it with that.
Yeah, I tell clients that when you're in court, it's like downhill skiing. You've got to be loose in the knees and you have to be able to take the moguls, right? Because anything could happen and often does.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy. As a moderate skier, I mean, I say I'll ski anything as long as it's groomed. So the moguls always scared me. So knowing that, almost like you use your knees as shock absorbers, that is an interesting analogy. You just sort of absorb what just unfolds in front of you.
Yes, you just have to be ready. The best advice I could give to a new attorney, someone who's trying to break into this business, is there is no better way than to be prepared, right? Know your facts, know your law. Don't fumble around when you're standing in front of a judge. You have to have like that. You've got to be ready, and you have to be ready for the unexpected. I have clients say to me, why are you asking me all these questions? This isn't what's going on. This isn't what's happening. Yeah, but I'm trying to anticipate what the other side is going to do or say, right? That's because that's my job. My crystal ball has to be on like all the time.
Yeah, it's almost like playing chess, being a few steps ahead, yet you can't anticipate everything. Let's go back a little bit. I'm curious. Tell me your story. What brought you, or who was your influence that you ended up in the family law?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know how long this program is, but the answer is somewhat lengthy. I have been an attorney for 40 years, and I spent the first 13 years of my career as a labor and employment lawyer, believe it or not. My undergraduate degree is in industrial and labor relations, and I started my career at the National Labor Relations Board, Region 29 in Brooklyn. And then, yeah, I was doing great. I was at a large firm in New York, and then another large firm in New York. And things were going great until I got a divorce. Okay. And I realized that I could no longer keep those hours, do that commute. I had two small children at the time. And my divorce lawyer said to me, you know something, you'd probably be good at this stuff. You have a background in dispute resolution. Yeah, I knew how to arbitrate. I already knew how to mediate. And I was used to dealing with conflicting allegations on a different scale. If you think about it, there isn't that much difference between employment law, and I mean union versus management, which was what I was doing, and family law, because what's the two most important things to most people? Their job and their family. So disputes about those have a common theme. And I was not able to get a job commensurate with my experience in Westchester County. And so I segued into family law 25 years ago, and I haven't looked back. I haven't looked back. I love it.
You love it. Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like? So you've had your own experience, and how do you feel that experience shows up in your work with clients?
It shows up every day. I understand what they're going through. I know that divorce stinks, right? It's not fun. It's not cheap. It's not pleasant. It's not quick. And so I help to try to bring the client through the experience. I'll use humor. I'll try to make them laugh. I'll try to make them comfortable. And sometimes the knowledge that I've been through what they're going through is helpful.
What about emotions? That's that unpredictable piece that we talked about. If you have someone who's so wrapped up in their emotional state and almost unable to move forward to self-determine, how do you bring that person back?
I actually suggest that it would be helpful if they were to see a professional therapist, because that person is cheaper than I am. I have some skills from experience, but I am certainly no psychologist. And I strongly suggest that the support is helpful, particularly if the client doesn't have a background, doesn't have a family support or friends to support them. Many do, but not all. And I have discovered that most of the clients who do come here are already seeing someone or thinking about it, because it does help a great deal. This is an emotional process, and it's hard. And I don't expect the client to behave normally. This is not a normal situation for them. So, and I tell them that in a consultation. I don't expect you to think clearly. That's my job. I give you options. You get to choose. That's how our relationship works.
Hmm. Yeah, it's almost like you normalize the fear, the emotional state. You just normalize it for them. And like you said earlier, is sort of taking this approach, let's kind of play some things out so that you know what to anticipate. And so if you're about to lose it, that's okay, that's normal. And I think that could be almost a sense of comfort for many people who are going through this traumatic experience, knowing, okay, it's okay, because I am really scared right now of the unknown, and my attorney's telling me that's okay. Um,
It's normal to be scared. This is scary.
yeah.
This is one of those major events of life, as emotionally nerve-wracking perhaps as a death, because it's true, a way of life, a lifestyle is changing, and it's an enormous, enormous burden for many clients. Not all. Some come in here and they're so happy to be here, and they can't wait until they're done. Those are few and far between. You can't treat clients in a cookie cutter manner, because no two clients are alike. No two clients' stories are alike, or situations. So yeah, you have to deal with what you get.
So I am going to grab that skiing analogy that you made. I take it that you're a skier?
I haven't skied in many years. Quite frankly, last September I got a knee replacement, so I don't really think I'm going to be hitting the slopes anytime soon. Yeah.
So what is your go-to when you're not working?
Well, I do work a lot. I'm not going to deny that. What I enjoy doing is spending time with my daughters. I have two adult daughters. One of them is an occupational therapist, which came in handy with the knee replacement. And the other is a singer and actress. And
Wow.
so they're both very interesting people, and it's fun to hang with them.
Now, were you a good patient?
No, I was not a good patient. You know, a knee replacement is pretty bad, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was 6 months ago, and now I'm doing really well.
that's great to hear.
Yeah,
What what were you into when you were uh, young girl?
I was into friends, parties. I love to read. I still do.
Mm.
I've got a stack of books, next to my bed, just ready to go. I am happiest in a library, believe it or not. I'm a nerd. I admit it. I own it. And so when I was a kid, that's what I did. I read.
You know what? I love it too. I actually found almost like a refuge in a library, and it stuck. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
an adventure in that.
Yeah,
That's cool. I'm finding another nerd. That's good. That's great. Love that. So I understand that you are on the board of the Association for Children with Down Syndrome.
I am. It's ACDS. It does not just handle children with Down syndrome, it's children with any sort of developmental delay. My daughter is an occupational therapist, as I said, at ACDS on its Pelham campus. There's two campuses in Westchester County, one in Scarsdale, the other in Pelham, and their headquarters is in Long Island. I also have a developmentally disabled sister who lives on Long Island. So I come by this experience easily and readily. And I really very much enjoy being on the ACDS board.
I had a feeling there was a personal story behind it.
Yeah, there usually is, right? And I was asked to join because of my sister, and my occupational therapist daughter actually has Asperger's. She's a polymath. She's brilliant, but she has some issues herself, and she is still phenomenal. She graduated from NYU, and now she holds a master's in occupational therapy. And it was the power of persistence. It took her 7 years to get that master's degree, but she did it. And I'm really proud.
I'm
I
sorry.
know. You get verklempt. I know. She
Wow.
works very hard, harder than most to get where she is. But she is brilliant. She does very well at her job. There's nothing like a person with a disability to treat a child with a disability. She really gets it.
I now I understand a certain part of you, the giving part of you, and always be ready, and being such a great advocate for your clients, the giving part of you. That is incredible. Okay, that's incredible. Oh, I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. That
Sure.
is so inspiring. So inspiring. Um, tell me about your work. I think you're part of a committee for judicial restoration of parent education.
Oh, yes, yes.
What is that about? For people who are listening and watching this and they don't understand that, what is that?
It is about parent education for people going through a divorce or separation. The late Sandra Miller, who is one of my mentors and my most important mentor, founded what we call JROPE, Judges for the Restoration of Parent Education, in 2017 on Valentine's Day. It's February 14th, 2017 was our first meeting. Judge Miller was the founder, along with retired Judge Jacqueline Silberman. And the group was determined to make parent education mandatory in New York. There's been a court rule on the books for many years, and all we wanted to do was put one little word in that rule: mandatory. And we made a presentation in 2017 to then Chief Judge Janet DeFiore, and a pilot program was put in place. Parent education has been going on since 2005. I used to actually teach it in the courthouse after hours, but in 2011 there were budget cuts, and the parent education program fell by the wayside. When Justice Miller retired from the Appellate Division, Second Department, among her other pet projects, besides no-fault divorce, which she spearheaded, she wanted to resurrect parent education in this state and to make it mandatory. And we were well on the way. There was a pilot program, but two things happened. One was the pandemic. On February 27th, 2020, right before the shutdown, Judge Miller, myself, and Leslie Friedland, who's in charge of Family Kind, a provider of parent education services, we lectured on the effort to get mandatory parent education in the courthouse. And we were ready to take our show on the road, but a couple of weeks later, everything shut down. The other thing that happened is Judge Miller began to become too frail to go on the lecture circuit. And of last August, she did pass away at the age of 95. That does not mean that our effort to get parent education mandatory has died. No. A certain core group of us are determined to see her legacy through to the end and to get parent education mandatory. You want to know what I do in my spare time? This is what I do. Right? We have written to the Chief Judge now, Judge Wilson. We are getting legislation hopefully enacted. There is a bill that has been introduced in the state legislature, and I think I'm going to be going on the lecture circuit again pretty soon. Those trips to Albany for no fault and for maintenance guidelines are going to be resurrected, I think. But we are determined. I am determined that this was her final project, and I'm going to see it through. This pin that I'm wearing now was gifted to me by Judge Miller shortly before she died, and it's very, very meaningful to me. Judge Miller was brilliant. I wish I could be more like her, but she is going to get this. You know, if she's watching, Judge Miller, we're going to do it for you, my friend. We're going to get this done.
Oh, wow. That segues actually one of my favorite questions to ask. You know, what's your favorite way to spend, if, you know, not a favorite way, but if you could spend time with someone from the past life or current life, a mentor, who would that be and why? And I think you just answered that question.
What I wouldn't give for another afternoon with Sandra Miller, right? She opened doors for me. She introduced me to so many people. The way her mind worked was amazing. After she retired, although we weren't allowed to use that word, but after she left the appellate division, she came to my then firm, McCarthy Fingar, as chief counsel. And she and I began to do appellate work, obviously. I would moot her. I wrote them. She argued them. And there was nothing more fun than driving up to the appellate division second department with Judge Miller in the car. Two court officers would run to the curb. One would escort her into the courthouse. The other said, "Please give me the keys so I can park your car." I mean, this was like the royal treatment.
Wow.
Anyone who has been to the second department knows parking isn't so easy. You know, it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood in Brooklyn Heights. But when you show up with Sandra Miller, you get the red carpet. And I do miss those days. It was a lot of fun arguing and writing appellate briefs with her.
You are one determined woman, and you will make it happen. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt about it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We are going to get parent
Yeah.
education mandatory in the state.
Yeah.
It's just such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
There have been dozens of studies, dozens of statistics showing how this helps families, it helps children, it helps the court system, because the recidivism rate is much lower when parents are exposed to this kind of understanding. I know that back in the day, there was some concern about domestic violence, these places, it was in person, if you will. And we made sure that both parties didn't come to the same session, but still, that was a concern, and that was one of the objections to parent education. But now we don't have to worry about that because all of the programs are available online,
Mm.
and parents can, at their leisure, take the class. And many, many people have found it so helpful. It's all about it's not telling people how to parent. To me, that's not it at all. It's how to keep your children out of the conflict, how to listen to each other, and to work for the betterment of the children. That's what it's about.
That's that's beautifully said. I think sometimes, in the middle of the conflict, people forget who truly is in the middle. And I've been through a divorce myself, and we have always done a good job co-parenting for many years, and sort of followed certain rules, despite him just getting on my nerves once in a while. I would never express that to my kids, and vice versa after a while, because we realized, what do they do with that information? I mean, they're half from each of us. How does that make them feel? I mean, they're not things, they're not, pawns. It's a good reminder. And I think, the more you remove children out of the conflict, the faster everybody heals. And that's really, at the end of the day, they're just asking, to restore some sense of structure and just peace. They want to have their friends. They want to be able to play their video games, go outside, do whatever they want to do. Just have some peace and not be in the middle of it. So that is wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Thank
what I do in my spare time.
Yeah, you know what? I get it. I get it, and I appreciate your passion. So what will be your parting message? I know you talked about a great advice for incoming attorneys. Always be ready, and be prepared for the unknown, obviously. What else is on your mind? What is a message or something that you would like to share?
Well, I'd like to talk, if I could, for a moment about my work on counsel fees.
Yes.
I lecture all over the place on this topic. I have a 130-page manifesto. Actually, it's an outline, but it's almost like a book these days, about all issues concerning counsel fees, how to get them from your own client, how to get them from your client's spouse. Because, of course, in the
Wow.
field of family law, we are one of the few fields in which the other side can wind up paying the counsel fees. I started this passion from two cases that I lost in the appellate division that I should not have lost. And I said, oh no, this is not going to sit well with me. I lecture to judges, I lecture to attorneys. Next week, I am lecturing to a class of law students at Pace Law School
Wow.
about counsel fees. And I have to say, I probably know more about it than most attorneys in this state, if not all the attorneys in this state. And I do have to say that since I began my quest to educate people about counsel fees and domestic relations law 237, 238, et cetera, since I started doing that in 2016, we are getting better decisions on counsel fees, more well-reasoned, more generous, and explanations are given. The worst thing you can say to an attorney is, no, I'm not giving you any money and I'm not going to tell you why, right? Or you're asking for $50,000, I'm going to give you 10, no explanation. That drives us insane. And so I am trying to educate judges to explain to us, what is your reasoning? What is your rationale? The statute requires you to do that. And so please do it. We all need to help each other here.
That sounds pretty significant. And actually that is a unique expertise, if you will. I'm glad you brought it up. And a lot of times that can make or break the case, especially if you have a one side controlling the finances. Look, at the end of the day, what you do, it's just astounding how many roles you play. And being the expert, the advocate, the counselor, just guiding people through this very complicated process, having to have the expertise when it comes to property division, parental education. So there's just so much of it. And then I say this, and then you have to come through the front door of your home and be a parent and hold it all together. And so
Yeah.
I am glad, you are a very passionate person, and I have no doubt that you will be able to succeed in all of these projects and make some difference. I mean, it takes a person like you, not just a talker, and I appreciate that, a doer to make it happen.
That's true. We have plenty of ideas people in this world, but you need people who are ready and willing to use these, right? And this to get the job done.
Absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you here today, Dolores, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really been fun.
And for those of you who would like to know how to get a hold of Dolores, of course, you can check out the link to her bio below. And do not forget to subscribe to our Beyond the Bar podcast. Follow us on all social media channels. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.